Welcome everyone. We are back. This is the All-In FPL show. You've obviously been missing us over the close season, but this is the first video for the new year, and we're back with a bang. This one's our FPL top tips, a complete guide for beginners. It's not going to be a long video, but we're just going to give you some good tips, have a bit of a laugh because the first one, I ain't seen Josh on one of these for a while. Even I do work with him, but doesn't rarely come into the office and does very little work. So don't really get to catch up with him there, to be honest. But how you been, Josh?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm sure everyone will notice that a few things, actually. Well, one, that Doyle's missing, of course. He's going to be back. Don't worry for all the Doyle fans. He will be back
The
for
Doyle
the other
Army.
videos. He's in a poker tournament today. I'll be in it later, but he's registered in the morning for like the early session. So I'm sure he's making millions like as we speak right now. So he will be back. He just couldn't make this quick recording, but we wanted to do it. We wanted to get something out with a week to go till FPL. It's very exciting. And the other thing I was going to address, JB, is why we sort of didn't record any videos for the back end of last season, basically, because it's been more than the summer we've been away for, hasn't it? So we're back with a proper bang, and we're hopefully going to commit to doing a full season this year of tips every week, or almost every week anyway.
Yeah, definitely. We might even try and get some extra videos out before pre-deadline if we can. We'll see how we get on. But yeah, Doyle's computer exploded, apparently. That's how we put it in the chat to us. Not 100% sure what that meant and how it arised, but yeah, exploded. So I went down and bought myself a jazzy new laptop, state of the art. So hopefully the production should be trending upwards now, because Doyle's off the reins. He also got married as well, didn't he, Josh?
He did, yeah. His laptop imploded, and it coincided with his worst ever FPL season. I'm not sure if the two are related, but he did. His laptop did explode. I'm sure it did. So yeah, we've got a change of roles this year. JB's editing as well as doing all the intros and everything, as he did before. Not sure what I'm doing again, really, but I'm sort of just here. You know what I mean, to talk in my funny accent about a bit of football. So yeah,
You're head of social media still, yeah? So
yeah.
anyone who engages on Twitter, mainly that's you, like giving your expert analysis.
I think I'm going to do it better this year. I'm really confident that I'm not just going to not log into it for about 2 weeks. I'm going to do the posts and everything. So yeah, all in FPL on Twitter, isn't it, JB? If
it is, it's all in on X. Actually, we should know this because we work for a media company, don't we? No Twitter anymore. X.
All in on X. Sorry, all in FPL on X. Yeah.
I don't. You probably get more followers if you still say Twitter, though. No. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Enough
waffling anyway. Let's get on to the top tips that you've put together. I know you've put some together, and we've looked through them, so we've got a little bit to say on each one, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, we could slag off Doyle for 20 minutes. We said this video is just a quick one, get one out there, 20, 25 minutes, and we spent probably 10 minutes slagging off Doyle already. So yeah, let's get started. Tip number one. So tip number one is patience until the deadline. So often the game week's ended, you can have a bad game week, everyone's looking at their score straight away. Some players have underperformed, and it's automatic. It's human nature to think, oh, I'm getting rid of this waster. Especially Doyle, he loves this sort of attitude. He's like, no, he's useless, he's rubbish. Probably only brought him in 2 weeks ago. And it's so easy to make an early move because someone will have gone off, done something well at the weekend, couple of goals in the bonus. You know that you want to get that player long term, perhaps. Someone probably has underperformed, and you want to make the transfer straight away. Especially for new players, they think, okay, got a free transfer in the bank. They see it pop up as soon as the game week turns over to the next. Make the move. Really, the best way to do it. Personally, there is a time to move early, depending on price rises, but if you can wait as long as you can until the deadline, especially once Champions League football kicks off, cup football, games being played midweek, other players can get injured, and it can be a bad cocktail sometimes, can't it?
I'm looking down your list of top tips. Actually, I'm glad Doyle's not here. He would oppose all of these, I think. He does.
That's why he finished like 5 million last year, though, right?
He doesn't wait. Yeah, he doesn't wait. He loves a rage transfer, which is what it's called, obviously, when And we've all felt like it, by the way. We've all felt like we want to just take out some scummer who's blanked for 3 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? But
And you feel like you know the move as well. You're like, oh, I'm definitely doing that this week. So you kind of feel like, oh, let's do it.
but it can change so much over the course of the week. I think there's a sweet spot. It's probably 15 minutes to half an hour before the deadline. I'm not one of these people who's waiting until 2 minutes before, because the site is getting more popular than ever. It will crash. It will crash several times this season near the deadline. So I like to wait sort of between the 15-minute to half an hour mark. I think that is enough time to give you maximum information, but still make sure you get your moves in before the deadline. It gives you a bit of a buffer, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is the time to do it. And there's very little. The best time to I generally know on a Friday evening what I'm doing, because the last thing I wait for is the press conferences on a Friday. You find out all the information from the managers. They sit down, they'll say everything about the squad, who's injured, who's not playing, etc. Obviously, you can't trust it 100%, but you'll have a fairly good idea who is playing, who won't be playing out of your team. As soon as that's done, very little changes. So almost Friday night, you know that. The only time I may wait is sometimes you get some leaks. So if there's an early kickoff on the 12:30 game and that could impact what you're planning to do, that's the only time I'd wait. Other than that, you're pretty much sound enough to do it on the Friday night, Saturday morning, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, and obviously some people like to do their moves early to catch price rises and stuff. I think this year, looking at the players, I've done a bit of an in-depth analysis. I think there's enough cheaper options this year more than ever to not be worried so much about all these 0-1, 0-2s. I think there's enough pickable players all season where you're going to have value across every position across the whole season. Even if some teams don't quite do as well as we think, I think there'll be enough that do, where you've got a 6.5 million midfielder, or you've got a bit of a cheaper striker, a 7.5, or defenders. There's so many 4.5s. There's just enough value this year, I think, to not be chasing all these 0-1s. I don't think you need to do it. I think some people honestly do it for a bit of like showing off pride purposes to have the best team value. I think you don't need to do that this year. I think wait till Friday at least. And you might catch some value on a Friday night if the deadline's a Saturday. So you could still gain a bit of team value doing that, bringing in a popular player on a Friday night. So yeah, that's going to be what I do this year, and I think it's a good strategy for beginners.
Yeah, definitely. Normally the price changes if it's a popular player anyway. They'll change either the Saturday, Sunday night, or quite often they will change on the Friday night because that's when most people do their transfers. So as long as you get it in, price changes occur around about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, don't they? So as long as you're waiting until the Friday night, you may even, like you said, catch that last price rise. Okay, so
right, point number 2. What's number 2?
Well, yeah, we said we'd spend about 2-3 minutes on each one. That was about another 5 minutes. So I feel like we're looking at about a 2-hour video instead.
We're
of
on course,
3 minute.
yeah.
But yeah,
let's edge us along. You got your sound bite now. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Smooth as anything, all in FPL. Okay, number 2, save transfers. So where you can, try and save as many transfers as possible. Again, it's not a sexy thing to do because you get them transfers. You want to improve your team all the time. There's always players who are on your shopping list. So throughout the whole season, there's always 1, 2, 3, 4 players you're looking at and you think, I wish I had them in my team. Generally, the best way to get them is to save transfers. When you've got 2 moves, you can do so much more to your team because you can sell one player, you can get another player in, you can actually use the money to mix it around. Whereas if you've only ever got one transfer, that probably limits half of the moves you can do because you can only go downwards or someone at that price. And when you do have the 2 transfers, it just gives you so many more options. And to be honest, a lot of the time, if you use a transfer when you don't necessarily need to, a lot of the time it's like for like, or you'll make a transfer and the player you transfer out scores just as many points as the one you brought in would have. So yeah, save transfers when you can.
Yeah, I'm going to be consciously brief on this one. It's worth just adding, just to be absolutely clear, you can only have up to 2 transfers. So what we're saying is when you have 1 free transfer, roll, so you have 2 free transfers. That's what we're saying. And it's my most popular strategy. I typically go roll, take a -4 for 3 moves the next week. That's like a really common thing I do. It's obviously called a mini wild card. I think it's the most powerful thing you can do on FPL. So yeah, I'm all for that first roll. And then the other thing you can do, obviously, is when you have two, if you don't need to use the two that week, you can roll one that week and have two for the next week. You know what I mean? So you can just you can use one roll and have two still the next week. So you don't have to use your two. You don't force yourself to use two the next week. It's really good to keep having two if you think your team's really good. And sometimes you do land in that spot where 5 or 6 weeks in a row, you have a really nice team. So you just use one and roll the two for when that disaster week happens and you get a suspension, 2 injuries. 2 of your players are crap. I mean, I normally have more crap ones than that, to be honest. But yeah, great to have 2 transfers. Not much more to be said on this one, I don't think.
No, I think just get into that mindset, like you say, always try and get in a position where you can save that one, so you've got 2, and always try and keep them 2 if you can until, like you said, when you really, really want to make some changes and either use the 2 or the -4. And yeah, just change your mindset and think that is the optimal way to play if you can. Okay, next one, number 3. Don't overcommit to teams or strategies. Now, there is little asterisks on this because some people purposely would want to do this if you want to be different to the crowd. And for instance, you'll be able to explain this a lot better, Josh, because this is probably the way you play a lot of games because you know there's some cash games out there you like a flutter, and rather than finish near the top, you like to go for broke, don't you, and win completely. And to do that, that's when you have to pick up on the differentials. For instance, if everyone's going Haaland captain, you go someone else captain that week. And again, another point on this is maybe like a triple defense, which you love to do in like DFS games. So again, take it away. You tell us this because this is the way you like to play. Whereas I'm very safe, you do the opposite.
Yeah, my only thing that I do that goes against this sort of advice is I triple defenses. I think if there's a good spot for a defense, it's a good way to catch a 5 or 6 week run. And one time it'll work out for me. It hasn't really worked out yet, by the way. But
well, it did in fan team, though, didn't it?
Yeah. It was quite all right in that. I had a few triple defenses and stuff, but you got to catch a 5 or 6 week run where that team keeps 4 or 5 clean sheets, and if you hit that, you're gonna beat the field. If you're gonna beat everybody in across that defense, that's gonna win. You know what I mean? Against everybody. It's obviously really hard for a team to keep 4 or 5 clean sheets in 6 weeks. That's really hard, but I am confident it will happen, especially in like a rotating sort of thing. Like if you've got like a couple from one team and a couple from another, then if you rotate them, then like you can easily catch 4 clean sheets just from 2 Everton ones, 2 Fulham ones. You know what I mean? As a random example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to do it in defense. I don't stack attacks though. I think when you stack attacks, you're more likely than not picking from a team where like if they share the attacking returns, often none of them are going to do that well, if that makes sense. Whereas in a defense, if one person keeps a clean sheet, all 3 keep a clean sheet, so you're hitting it. You're hitting the same outcome 3 times, whereas with an attack, only one person can get a goal and one person can get an assist per goal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I prefer to have maximum 2 from a team in an attacking sort of double up. I would never have a triple up really. And then in defense, I'm sort of a more triple up galore kind of thing. But a better way to play is to just pick the best assets from each team, and that will often be spreading it across. You'll probably have 2 max from most teams, 1 from a lot of teams, and then the odd triple up from a team that are just like underpriced. Have you identified, maybe we should save this for another video, but have you identified sort of a team that's underpriced this year that you might triple up on? Or
yeah, my boys Chelsea. I think they could have a good year. I feel like it's a brand new reset for the team. Last year was just so bad. Just throw it out. It was just, again, I won't go into too much detail, but basically I think Chelsea could have a good year, and very similar to Arsenal and Manchester United last year. They were just completely underpriced, and then they done really well. And then that afforded everyone the luxury of being able to pretty much all season pick whoever you wanted. No one really needed to save much money last year because you had all these cheap assets. Like Rashford was 6.5, playing like a 12, 13 million pound player at times. So
yeah, I think there's a Chelsea asset this year. I'm not sure. My favourite's Nkunku, so that's who I'm starting with. That's who I think will be the asset which becomes a captainable asset. Like, I think someone from Chelsea will become a captainable asset because, as you say, they're just like underpriced, and rightly so, because last year was horrendous. Like, I think they are the right prices, by the way, but I think they're going to be proved to be underpriced by the end of the season. No European football, lots of cheap players. I mean, Colwill 4.5 is amazing. The most like pricey attacker is 7.5 million, and you get some of them for 6.5. Your boy Madueke's 5.5. Like, there's loads of assets across this team. So yeah, I think Chelsea might be a team a lot of people have 2 or 3 of. And I think Arsenal are too cheap as well this year. I think they're still too cheap, especially 5 million defenders, stuff like that. So I think a triple up on Arsenal might be quite popular as well. What's number 4, JB?
Okay, so number 4 is don't rely on stats. So stats certainly have a place because, it's easy to bring up a spreadsheet. You can see who's XG, who's having got shots on goal, who's getting the right positions, heat maps, that sort of thing. I agree that you can find some outliers in there, people you wouldn't necessarily have picked initially, and then suddenly you can see that, actually the stats are saying this guy's playing pretty well. But a lot of the time, it depends on the sample size as well. So especially early on in the season, that is not the time to rely on stats because the sample size is so small. The best time to do it is over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, whereas the first couple of games, you can throw that out pretty much. I personally am more of an eye test guy, but that is because I kind of lead a life of luxury at the moment. I haven't got any kids or anything, so I'm watching loads and loads of football. There's not many games I haven't got my eye on, to be honest. So all the Sky games I watch and BT, get to watch 3 Champions League games as well. Always watch Match of the Day. So pretty much I'm seeing everything. So the stats, if you haven't got the time, then by all means have a look at the stats. But I do think watching the games, you see who gets in better positions. Someone can have a couple of shots from long range from like 40 yards or something, and you think, they've got 2 shots on target for a midfielder, when in reality it could have been P rollers, like shot off target. People who do well in the XG as well can be sometimes rubbish strikers who can't put the ball in the net, just that they get in the position. So, and then there's a lot of players who are phenomenal players, like Son and Hazard over the years, who always outperform it, but that's because they're so good and they're clinical. So yeah, I wouldn't rely on it too much. Always a mix of both for me. Have a look at stats, watch the games, form your own opinions. Don't just follow a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't watch as many games as you, but I follow a similar approach, just in a different way. My leading thing to pick a player is the fixtures. So I will always look at fixtures first and foremost, and I'll say, this team's got a really good run. What assets do I like from that team?
Mm-hmm.
And you might pick you might end up with 3 players that you land on, I think, using that strategy. I think there'll be like 3 options for like people who've got good fixtures for a particular position that you need a player for, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because ultimately it depends who you need to sell a lot of the time, right? That's going to dictate who you need to bring in. It's got to be the same position. Like, you can't swap positions. So I'll sort of make a short list of 3 based on future fixtures, because I think that's the best way of seeing who might score points, like who's playing Luton at home, you know what I mean? Sorry, Luton. Or like who's playing like other teams that you think there's potential for goals against or clean sheets against or whatever. And then I'll hone into the stats at that point. So comparing 3 players that I already think are quite good, I'll then choose between them, maybe using stats. You know what I mean? So that might be the sort of decider to make the last decision. Yeah. So I think that's how I use stats. I don't think you should use stats to as the starting point, but I think you should use it towards the end to like decide between in a really close decision. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Even last year, like my successes who I picked up on, Philip Billing, just he looked so good in the games, and then Mitoma come on as a sub a couple of times, and he'd only come on as a sub a couple of times, and he just looked unbelievable every time he come on. But if you're looking at the stats, if you're looking at season long stats, you won't necessarily see that. So to get on someone quickly, you need to have your eyes open when they break into the team and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, there's a lot.
Where is Philip the Plant, by the way? Where's he gone?
Well, we've moved now, you see.
So, is he dead?
No, whoa, calm down. No. He's in another room at the moment, but this is like my office. So I'll tell you what, I did think this a minute ago, because we've got a bloody one of the Mrs. Wax melts going at the moment, and we can't be having that. It's not like I've lit a candle in honor of Philip Billing, but
until we see him, he's going to be assumed dead, I think, by me and the viewers. I think like until we see Philip, so maybe next episode or something, we can be in the other room, or we'll transport him into here. So we know that you're not a billing denier anymore. You know what I mean? It's like you haven't changed. Right, we're over halfway through, JB. We're flying through here.
I know. Yeah.
My alarm just went off for my lunch, by the way. So I'm not sure how we're going to deal with that.
So that was the alarm, weren't it, to say that like we would definitely be finished by now, and we're literally halfway through. I think your sound's gone. You off mute?
That was me delegating to my friend to turn the oven off. Sorry, I've got a helper today, so it's like I don't have to run away. JB, you know what I'm normally like. I'd normally just leave you and George to talk.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've missed these shows with like you getting takeaway orders delivered, all sorts of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Yeah. It's it's what I do, you know. It's like, yeah, what's number 5? JB,
yeah,
let's get going. Let's we are flying through. We're sticking to brief. It's amazing.
From now on in this show, right, until the end, you're going to see how desperate Josh is to try and speed this up, because he's obviously got lunch downstairs ready to eat, and he's going to be desperate to get down there. So things might speed up, and you'll hear him go quickly. But I'm going to try and go as slow as possible. So
except for number 6, mate, because number 6 was my one. So you know how egotistical I am. I'll talk about that one for about half an hour.
Sure, number 7's a quick one anyway. Right, let's get on to it. Bloody hell. God, I've enjoyed not having these shows around for the last couple of months on the off season. Right, number 5. Be open-minded and don't be stubborn. So what I mean by that, everyone will have their personal preferences on players. Always be like water, always changing. Be flexible, be open-minded. I know, Doyle was very stubborn with a lot of players, Salah, that sort of thing. I remember a couple of years ago, you saying you wanted to put Danny Ings in your team, and I was thinking, my God, like he's lost a plot here. Danny Ings, he scored like 2 goals all season, but he had great fixtures, like you mentioned earlier. After a couple of games, I think he had 3 and 3 or something. He was high in the bonus, looked really good. He had, easy games coming up. And I had to get him in the end, and I'm glad I did, because, carried on scoring. And so many players go on this role where they start scoring, they're playing good, they're in good form. You sometimes think you've missed the boat, but sometimes just jump on. There was a year with Vardy and Mahrez when Leicester won the league. I don't think I really had much of the season. I didn't play properly at that point. I was more into going to football. I had my season ticket. I was a complete casual. But I just remember thinking, Leicester won't win the league. They, won't carry on. But you've got to jump on these players when they start performing, and just put what you think to one side and go for it. That's my advice.
You're better than me at this, I have to say. I am very stubborn not in the sense of I'm stubborn in some players, and they're sort of like pre-decided players, to be honest. If I don't like a price at the start of the season, I will not pick a player. Like if I think if someone's like 10.5 million, say, and I think that's too much, I will never own that player. Like I'm very stubborn in those exact spots where I've pre-decided that they're too expensive. I might have them if they've got a double or something, you know what I mean? I might put them in a free hit or something where budget sort of doesn't matter. But if I've decided that someone's too expensive, can't think of an example this year. I think everyone's quite cheap this year, so hopefully I don't do this year. But I've had it in previous seasons where at the start of the year, if someone is too much, I'm not picking them. Yeah, there's actually no examples this year. Trippier is probably the closest, something like that. 6.5 seems high for him when Botman's 4.5. So I'll probably always have Botman, you know what I mean? Because he's 2 million cheaper. But yeah, I'm kind of stubborn when I just don't like a price. I will just refuse to pay it because I've pre-decided that that's too much, you know what I mean? But the pricing is so soft this year. I think that there's no examples of that. Like Salah and Kane are fair at 12.5, for example. Like you would think that they're too much. Obviously, Harry might be on the move, which means his price is redundant anyway. But yeah, I even think Kevin De Bruyne is fair at 10.5 at certain points in the season. I think he could crush that price if he's sort of in a double game week or if he's playing really well and playing every week. So yeah, I think I'm going to try try and take the advice we've written down and not be stubborn this year. Just pick whoever's playing well and whoever has the good fixtures. That's linked to it as well. Like, again, these fixtures that you said about Ings, pick the guys who have good fixtures. Yeah. And that means like that everyone has good fixtures at certain points, which means all players should be on the table. You know what I mean? They should all be in play at certain times.
Yeah, I think good example last year as well. Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, they were playing out of their skin. I took a punt on Watkins quite early last year. I liked his fixtures. He scored, sort of flying under the radar at the time. And then gradually everyone's jumping on one after the other. But if you can get in first, that's when you can make some really good gains. So yeah, it's a good tip. Number 6. Do you want to introduce number 6, Josh? This was your favourite one.
Oh, number 6 is, simply put, don't spend too much on your bench. It's a very, very common FPL mistake that people make. They want to have sort of a rotating hybrid squad or something where everyone's like 6 million and like there's loads of 7 millions. If you haven't seen it before, it's the team that FPL will pick for you on auto pick. If you ever press auto pick, it's that exact team that I'm talking about. 2 5 million goalies. I mean, it's just, yeah, look, all your players are 6 million on the bench. Like, it's just too much money to be spending on the bench. I think the best strategy for the bench is to do 4 million and 3 4.5s is what I would say is a really good bench where you've got all playing subs. The 4 million being the goalkeeper, obviously, on the bench, by the way. And then all playing subs. And it's cheap. You're not wasting the money on your bench. Like, you only get points for the players on the pitch. So it's really important to put lots of money into the 11 and pay 17.5 million as an example for the 4 subs. It's definitely something you follow as well, isn't it, JB?
Yeah, for sure. The only time I might have a non-playing player on the bench would be maybe a 4.5 striker, because there's a huge save in there. There's always a bit of a big gap between the playing strikers who are like 6, 7, 8 million. Obviously, their gold will up to premium, but around about the 5 million to 6 million, there's a big gap where a lot of them aren't playing all the time or they'll be rotated. And you can actually save a lot of money by 4.5, but I'd only put that forward third on my bench. So I'd always want 2 playing players and, if possible, 3 playing players in the outfield squad. So yeah, it's a good tip to follow.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm going to play 3-5-2 this season as well, which means I will have a 4.5 non-playing striker, but it makes it all the more important to have 2 4.5 million defenders, for example, in that formation as the first 2 subs, because I need 2 people to be able to come on when random injuries happen. The team seems to be getting better at hiding injuries at times as well, where there's just complete no-shows. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, so I think it's more important than ever to have 2 4.5 million defenders who play. Not only to have a sub for no-shows, it also means you can get a nice rotation going with fixtures. So you can play the best 4.5 million defender who has the best fixture that week. You know what I mean? It goes hand in hand, really, those 2 things, and you can do it using the same strategy of having 2 4.5 million defenders. And I don't know about you, JB, but I think there's a ton of them this year that are good 4.5 million defenders. I think there's loads.
There always is quite a lot of 4.5s, to be honest. And like you say, the best strategy can be just to play, if you've got a good home fixture, someone's got Luton at home, Bournemouth at home, that sort of fixture, Everton at home. It's good. It's good. You can play one week, as long as you look in advance and you see the fixtures, who rotates well, get a player from each of them 2 teams and you can swap them around. You can do the same with goalies as well. If you do want to just spend the extra 0.5 and you have 2 4.5s, that's another good strategy as well. But I generally find everyone talks about it at the beginning of the season, and halfway through the season, that strategy is completely dead, and you've got your team set and nobody really thinks too much about that. But obviously with defenders, it's slightly different because you can bring them in and out a lot easier, I think. So number 7, the last one, not really a massive tactic or anything, but just have fun. So obviously this game, everyone puts so much effort into it for a fake game about a game. And the only reason everyone really plays it is because they want to do well, they want to enjoy it, have some fun along the way. And it's the majority of the weeks, you're going to have bad weeks, I think, because even if you're doing really, really well, it's never good enough. Like, you can be in outside the top 10K, which is phenomenal these days with the amount of people playing and the amount of people that go online to get information. The top 10K is dead now. It's easily top 100K. And even the top 100K, I think, is hard to break now. And you just got to have fun along the way, because even if you was 15K, you're going to be sweating to try and get into top 10K. Even if you was 1,000, you're going to be getting a lot of pressure because you're thinking, oh my God, I'm so high. You're always going to want to do better. And if you're not enjoying it, what's the point, to be honest? So just try and not take it too seriously. We do this because we have a laugh. And the main reason for the podcast is because we used to get together on a Friday after work. There was like 5, 6 of us all chatting about football, the weekend, what bets we was having. We do a few bets together. And it was just very much like this. This is what we do. We just plan for the week ahead and enjoy it. And that's where this come from. So yeah, just try and enjoy it. What do you think?
Yeah, I've made some of my best friends in the world playing FPL. Like, all my good friends play it pretty much. I've even roped my missus into playing it now. She plays. She really enjoys just the process of it every week, sort of thing. And she doesn't play for big money or anything. She just plays for fun. You know what I mean? She enjoys chatting to me about it just once a week, not more often than that. She's not that into it, but yeah. I know me and JB are in a chat with Doyle as well, and like, we've been in it for years and years and years now, and we've just made some really good friends in that chat. We obviously meet up quite often. It's all about having this hobby, which is the FPL thing, and just making it into something that makes it more fun. And that's just like meeting people and having drinks with people and watching the games and having something to root for on the games. You know what I mean? I think it's a good way of stopping people from doing things like like betting as well. You know what I mean? Doing silly sports bets that are like minus EV and stuff like that. Just like, have your FPL team, root for your players that are on in any particular game, and yeah, just enjoy it. And definitely celebrate when you have a good week as well, or something really good happens. If you break the top like random amount in a game week, or if you finish top 1K, or like, you know what I mean, you have a game week rank in the 3 digits or something. Just enjoy it and talk about it, because it doesn't happen often. So just enjoy it when it happens.
Yeah, and like I said, remember, half the time you're going to have a down week and not do as well as expected, but that is completely normal. That is always going to happen. So just don't think about it too much. Just think about the next week. As soon as I have a bad week, my first thought is, right, next week's another week. Let's go for it. And even then, you can think about the next season, because I mean, no matter how well you done last season, it's gone now. No one gives a shit about last season, do they? Like, everyone's talking about this season. Like, your ranks reset. Do you know what I mean? So even if you don't do well one year, it ain't really going to matter unless you're Doyle and he's got us reminding him, like, pretty much we're going to do it all season, how bad he was last year. So that will be fun as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm linking us back to point number 1 here, but the best thing to do after having a bad week is to not log into FPL. Don't look at it till the next, like, really far into the next week, because you'll make a bad irrational decision if you're making your transfer after the Saturday games have just happened. Why don't you wait till the next Friday, as JB said, when you've got all the information? And I think that's a really nice way for us to semi-end, I think, here. Just like, you don't need, like, if you have a bad week, that's probably where people make the most mistakes, following a bad week. You know what I mean? Just wait, just like get back in a normal mindset. You'll have forgotten about the last week by the Friday, and just make a good transfer, you know what I mean? Or transfers based on all the information and without any heated feelings in your head, you know what I mean? So
definitely. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. A little bit longer, as always, but
not too bad though. Could have been way worse. Yeah.
Well, it's probably our shortest ever video. I mean, me and Doyle done a couple in the World Cup, which obviously I finished top of the league. But yeah, we won't go there. But yeah, not too bad at all. Probably for FPL, it might be our shortest ever video. But
maybe it's Doyle who makes it longer. I think that we're onto something here, maybe.
Well, we cut out all the Iwobi talk and Tarkowski and defence and Pickford and all the Everton strategy, haven't we? So we
missed a few old man jokes on you as well. I think I do it more when Doyle's here, because I want to show off with the young crowd. You know what I mean? I'm trying to like be cool with the kids. Yeah. But you've got the Mac now, so you're the cool one. It's very strange how this has all happened. Yeah, but
is it a Mac? I don't know. Apple, isn't it? Like, do they call them Apple Macs? Like, that's like my level of knowledge. So
the only apples I know about are pink ladies, mate. So that's all I've got.
Anyway, all right, let's go and let you have your lunch.
I'm
get this
starving.
video out, and then we'll keep on doing our weekly videos as well, and hopefully a couple of extra ones as well. Obviously, we'll be engaging on social media, so any questions, go on to X, and you'll get one of us. All three of us have access to the account, so whenever we're bored, we're always on there chatting away, talking to people in the community. Yeah. Okay.
Cheers, guys. That was lovely. Thanks.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye.